next session, which is from their team leaders to share us the latest finding about the think tank side. So now let's welcome, Professor Josh Plaskoff to be the new moderator for the next session.
I don't know about you all, but I was up for at 3 a.m. for this, and so good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And I am about as awake as I could be from this conversation. It is so stimulating, and it's so exciting to juxtapose kind of the highest level that we have in technology, arguably in AI, and the highest level of us being human beings in wisdom. And at the center of it all is tacit knowledge, which just highlights how important all this is that we're doing. And it's just very exciting. We're going to shift gears, and as Professor Sui had intimated, we're going to talk about these think tanks. There's a lot of activity going on right now in GO-TKM, and one of those the initiatives are those think tanks. And the think tanks are really an incredibly vibrant world that's being created at GO-TKM to share, to research, to discover, to really get to the cutting edge of tacit knowledge. And having built lots and lots of communities, and that was kind of my focus in KM for decades, it's a great way to share tacit knowledge. It's also a great way to develop about tacit knowledge. So we're going to what we want to do is provide a window into these think tanks for you to share what's going on and what some of the conversations are that are happening there. But we also want to have some dialogue as well. We don't have a large amount of time, so I want to give this over to the three participants. So we're honored to have three of the leaders of these of three of the think tanks here. Dr. Rachad Najjar, who's a recognized world leader in KM and its practice, and he's representing the Tacit Knowledge and Innovation think tank. Professor Patrick Fong, who's a leading researcher and educator in knowledge management and innovation. He's the leader of the Tacit Knowledge on Organizational Performance think tank. And then also Professor Wernher Friedrich, who's a renowned consultant and educator, and I have to admit, one of the deepest thinkers and creative thinkers and insightful thinkers on AI that I know. And he's the leader of the technological tools for tacit knowledge, knowledge management think tank. So what I suggested that they do is spend 5 to 7 minutes each to just talk about the think tanks, introduce themselves as well, deeper introduction. And then we'll break off and have a little bit of continuing conversation from these three frames to some of the conversations that we had previously. So why don't we start with you, Dr. Najjar? Why don't we have you kick us off?
Yes, thank you, Prof. Josh. In fact, I'm the founder and the CEO at 3R Knowledge Services. And my vision when I founded the company, I wanted to advance the future of work and position AI as a strategic extension of our human capabilities. It's our innate ability to create and innovate. So AI is not perceived as a technology or a system or a tool. It's much more than a human extension of our expertise. And that's my driver behind leading the Tacit Knowledge and Innovation think tank. And we will come up more on what we are doing inside this think tank. So I would like to share my screen, or you can help me to share the slides.
Yeah, can you? I think you can share. I think you have.
I can share.
So yeah, you can share.
Okay.
Should be able to. There we go.
Good. So okay. So we are really a globally distributed think tank. We have experts around the world, covering 6 continents, from Australia to North America. With my colleague, Christina Merchik, we are facilitating the collaboration around our experts. And we are always inviting new experts to join our think tank. We believe in diversity and inclusion. bringing new perspective on tacit knowledge, especially from fields or from industries or manufacturing, engineering, marketing perspective, any kind of perspectives that bring a new tacit knowledge perspective. So our approach is really special. What we are doing is really evidence-based approach. We want to have rigor and evidence that distinguishes our results and distinguish factual insights from fiction. And grounded success stories from marketing-driven narratives and sales pitch. So we want also to demonstrate credible and transferable results. So whenever we come up with a result, it's not a one-time use case or a independent use case. We want to transfer it in similar context and similar applications where we have confidence in the result applied. That's why our methodology has two phases, phase A and phase B. In the phase A, we are doing quantitative research analysis. We are searching for elements and variables. They have demonstrated a quantified relationship between tacit knowledge and innovation. For example, one of the few elements that we got is HR practices that are built on top of knowledge management processes. We, in the opening session, Sylvian and the panel talked about mentoring, knowledge transfer, onboarding, induction. So if those HR practices are embedded within a community-based approach where knowledge management processes are the core of those executive and execution operational mechanisms, then we have a positive impact on innovation. So that was in phase A. And then in the phase B, we want to go to the real world and search for narratives and search for practices illustrating those elements. For example, so which companies have implemented knowledge-based HR practices? Which companies have implemented task interdependence and cross-functional projects for innovation? So we want to create this innovation or tacit-driven innovation playbook where managers, executives, operational field can inspire, but also replicate the results by deploying those practices and innovation processes at their internally at their organization. So that's overall how we are approaching our think tank, and we believe in making innovation as the practical approach built on tacit knowledge and wisdom. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Najjar. Appreciate it. And great work that's being done. And if you're interested in innovation, obviously this is an opportunity to get involved with that. So let's shift gears, and we'll go to Professor Fong, if you wouldn't mind sharing as well.
Okay, thank you. Let me load my PowerPoint, and yep, this one. Okay, so basically I have two slides to share, but before I share the slide, let me give you a quick introduction about myself. I guess many of you don't know about me. So my name is Patrick Fong. I'm currently an associate professor at Griffith University in Australia. I'm also served on GO-TKM as an Australian Chief Academic Officer. And I'm also co-leader of the think tank on tacit knowledge management and organizational performance. So before I come to Australia, I was the former associate director of the Knowledge Management and Innovation Research Center at the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. So both Eric and I are colleagues together. And also I was served in this Hong Kong Knowledge Management Society as a former vice president. So at the moment, I'm really passionate about tacit knowledge management. So I'm actually looking into different ways to elicit and also to transfer this kind of knowledge. So I'm looking into three different aspects, including the social approach. For example, storytelling, because a lot of people saying that storytelling is probably the best method to elicit tacit knowledge. Another method which one of the speaker mentioned earlier is something called visual attention interface, which is basically I'm looking into using something like eye tracking and also measuring brain wave. When someone doing the work, for example, like a carpenter, when he's doing the work, I will give him some gear to measure his eyesight, the eye tracking, and also his brain wave, etc., so that I can monitor for like a very experienced carpenter how he or she do the work, and so that I can use this kind of video and knowledge to help to train those carpenter who are not so experienced, so that we can cut down the learning curve and also speed up the time of those people to become a competent worker. Especially, I know that in many countries we are talking about we have like shortage for construction workers in many different countries with serious housing crisis. So that's why I think this method can be useful. The next one that I'm going to look at is on the AI-enabled techniques, which basically using Gen AI and other AI techniques to see how we can elicit this tacit knowledge from documents or maybe even from people. So let me just focusing on my two slides. So because I'm co-leading this group about tacit knowledge and organizational performance, so I put up these two slides, which basically I use these graphic means because I think it's a good way to convey the knowledge. If you look at the diagram here on your left-hand side, so first, the first box is we have some KM routines, which probably throughout this whole session, you'll mention all these different techniques being mentioned, like community of practice, mentoring, after action review, etc. So by using these different methods, we can actually to enhance this tacit knowledge flow by, for example, faster access to the expert, because the most important thing is not to capture the knowledge that we have, but sometimes to get access to the people who know how to do the work. So that's why it's a very important mean. And then, of course, another way is to share the mental model, to also to look at the judgment, the kind of decision people make in arriving at certain decision. And of course, very important lesson is to reuse those lessons, because basically one of the important lessons for knowledge management is we don't want to be inventing the wheel. So in terms of performance, we can see that there's a lot of good things about managing tacit knowledge. First one, we can have shorter cycle time in terms of speed. And in terms of quality, we can have less defects and also to reduce the rework, which is a very serious situation in any industry. And the third one touch on innovation, because I always believe that if we can manage the knowledge and the learning, we can basically free up the time to do more innovation, which is nowadays very important in any industry. The last point is about resilience. So basically, we can reduce the kind of risk, because the more risk we have, the more chances of making mistakes or error or failures, whatever you call it. So my second slide will be just to illustrate to you about the kind of tangible and also intangible impact about managing tacit knowledge in terms of organizational performance. So if you look at the x-axis here, you can see that on the left-hand side, we have near term, and then on the right-hand side, we have long term. And then on the top, you have something called hard matrix, something you can measure. You know, a lot of management people, they always ask for what's the return on investment on something. So this is the thing we can tell them, that if by managing tacit knowledge, these are the kind of thing we can measure. But of course, there are also something that we can't really measure. So that's why here I classify it as soft signal. So in terms of hard matrix and near term, you can see that we can reduce cycle time, reduce rework, reduce defect, and also probably can shorten the onboarding time, which is to try to bring those new people who join the company into full gear. In terms of long-term and hard matrix, we can have more innovation, and probably we can even measure the revenue per employee, and also to measure the number of risk events we can avoid or prevent or whatever. So in terms of near-term and soft signal, these are probably a little bit more difficult to measure, but they are probably genuine outcome from managing tacit knowledge, including decision quality, better cross-team trust, and also psychological safety. This is actually a term created by a professor at Harvard Business School, which is when you have the psychological safety, people are more free to share about the knowledge, about their ideas. Without this psychological safety, people always fear about sharing something. In terms of long-term and also soft signal, it can relate to strategic agility, learning culture, employer brand, which probably not easy to measure, but they are the kind of thing that can be the result of tacit knowledge management. So that's the overall view of this think tank about tacit knowledge management and organizational performance. If any of you are interested to join, please feel free to contact me, and I'm happy to put you into the group, and so that we can start sharing. So I finish here, and I pass back the time to Josh.
Thank you, Professor Fong.
Thank you.
Great work, and really practical ideas that people can implement and actually use in context, which is wonderful. Really good work. Yep. Professor Friedrich, take us down the technology road.
I'm going to say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening because we're across the globe. Okay, I'm going to just start sharing screen quickly. Can everybody see the little coffee cup? Okay. Yes. I'll just give a quick background of myself. So I joined the GO-TKM thinking group and executive because I was hunted down by Fisher. And we started just discussing some things. And because of my background, I can see the urgency for this, and especially 3 years back when AI hit the market, this is becoming more urgent actually by the day, the whole vision about the concept. So just quickly background. So my specialty is in telecommunications, engineering, computer science, and neurosciences. I studied all of those fields at the same time. So what I did for just quickly research purposes, so I did a PhD in how to develop a human brain protocol related to information absorption directly on an electrical level without reading text through the eyes. And in short, to answer the question, can you actually, with the speed of learning that actually needs to speed up quite fast due to AI, can we read through the brain on an electrical level without actually opening a textbook? And the answer to that question is yes. And in the very near future, I foresee we're going to require a brain protocol for the human race. It's going to hit, and it's going to hit quite fast. That just gives you a quick background, and that's why I play in the AI world. Okay. So what does that AI tacit group do? We look at various aspects, and we ask questions like, when does AI become useless? Because everybody just look at the benefits of it, but they don't look at the other side of the coin as well. And so I love Mr. Einstein. I love the philosophy that he's doing. And so just jump to quick quotes. So I just need to move the screen to the other side, else I cannot see what I'm reading. So insofar as theories of mathematics speak about reality, they are not certain. And insofar they are certain, they don't speak about reality. And that quote Mr. Einstein made because mathematics is only a simulation of models to try and explain reality. Mathematics also have rules and flaws built into it. And then the other thing is, I think is quite relevant today in the AI world. We should not take care to make intellect our God. It has, of course, powerful muscles, but no personality. And that is what AI is trying to do. All the platforms, all the data centers, and all the hype for the Max 7 currently in America between OpenAI and NVIDIA growing like crazy in the markets. So just quickly I summarize, AI has strong muscles, but the context and personality does not form part of its internal structure, which is where the mathematics will keep on failing. You cannot code consciousness due to the chaos theory. Okay. So code and algorithms, you need some logic, and that's Boolean algebra. You need a yes or a no, a 1 or a 0. Else an algorithm cannot make a decisions. And all the LLMs in the world has got the same problem. They can have 1 trillion parameters to be trained on, but it's a statistical weighting system of balls, basically, that's happening on the electrical circuitry of the board. So it needs some kind of higher weight across the others to make the best guesstimate of the data point it actually has been trained on. And any futuristic data points not known, it will not know about. It can try and predict, but it doesn't mean it's going to get it correct. It doesn't have intuition. Part of the tacit requirement of understanding where data has value. So predictions are best calculated probabilities or guesstimate. It does not always reflect reality, which is come back to the mathematics speak about reality problem that Einstein referred to. So just quickly, sorry, Sylvian, I have to give more than 2 slides, else I'm not going to make my point.
We'll
Okay.
forgive you for that.
Thank you, Josh. Okay, so the AI guys, or the AI team, has come up with a beautiful word, what we call hot air. And I'm just going to put the acronym in context in the next slide. But we look at how to turn artificial illusions into authentic intelligence. And that is what AI actually needs to do, because from an artificial intelligence or illusion perspective, when you bring tacit into the equation, you actually, with knowledge and intuition, turn it into authentic intelligence that actually becomes usable for a company or a person or the human race or new innovation. And this was what happened with Mr. Thomas Edison. If that guy never lived, we would not have, I don't know, maybe else would have found it out, but the electrical bulb. So every time you walk into a room, you switch the electricity on and the little light goes on. I say thank you to Mr. Thomas Edison. And the reason being is a famous quote. He said, I found 2,000 ways how not to make a light bulb. That doesn't mean he had 2,000 failures. He just found 2,000 hallucinations an AI engine would, how not to get to the right light bulb. But the 2001 or 2033 pattern actually led to the innovation. And that is where the AI has got its muscles. So it's using existing library knowledge and all of these trillions and trillions of records, and it's associate certain things that might take us longer to put together, to connect the dots. So although it hallucinates, some of those hallucinations will lead to new innovations for the human race. I agree with that. But some of those hallucinations will lead to complete disasters because tacit understanding is missing. And an AI engine does not have that capability. It does not know if it's right or wrong. It's just an answer. And it's a reactive nature of a statistical engine. So when you ask an AI engine A, B, or C, it will always give you from its data pattern an answer back. It will never come back and say, I don't know, because it does not know what I don't know means. Okay. So to come back to hot air. So just to give some perspective where we look at our deeper analysis. So we look at the hype of inflation. So AI capabilities are often hyped by companies because reputation and trust is what drive market prices up for a company. So they draw the market to their capabilities. But the engines have got opaque decision making. So many AI systems operate as black boxes. Earlier we talked about why, Sylvian, you talked about the screen currently at companies, the black screen. So that's opaque decision making. It will not take away. In fact, it will actually make it worse. So training bias, obviously, if you have got all the data that ever existed from the start of the planet up until where I talk now, you would still not have all objectivity in that data set. I don't care if you've got a data center the size of the planet of Mars, you will still have training bias problems because of statistical modeling simulation issues within mathematics. Okay. Then the accountability gaps that we see. So it makes harmful decisions. I don't know if you recently saw the news. ChatGPT gave medical advice to a teenager, and while he's giving it, the teenager overdosed and actually died, following the medical reasoning from an LLM model. Can you see accountability problems? Then illusion of intelligence, I talked about it. Sometimes it appears more intelligent than it actually is because of hallucinate or incorrect results presented as fact or reality. The problem in an LLM engine because of the predictability, statistical weighting problems in maths, and the resource overload. As you can see, we've got climate change problems in the world, and they want to pump more data centers and nuclear all over the place. So that might not be the best way for the human race to progress. I don't say it's the wrong thing to do. I just say we might need to take a step back and just think about this a little bit. So what do? We look at where AI is going, and we look at the neurosciences aspect within the electrical circuitry and LLM engines development going forward in the market. And the next wave, and you can mark my words, and I'll sign a letter today, the next wave of AI that will hit in the very near future is spatial intelligence. And why do I refer to that? Spatial intelligence refers to a machine with objectivity like a camera or an IoT type of sensor that detects an object in reality in the real world. Like a robot needs to understand its environment while it's walking in an unknown environment. There is problems with that mathematics already that has not appeared yet, but that I foresee that will happen. So if a robot or a car or whatever detects there's two objects in front of it, there's a box that's very big and there's a brick that's a very small thing. And the car needs to make a decision regarding which one it needs to hit for the least amount of damage to the car. It doesn't have any capability. It cannot stop in time. It needs to hit something. So the decision of the LLM will say, hit the brick. It's smaller. Okay? That can be option one. Option two is it can decide, oh, I detect with my neural network, it's a box. And the box is much lighter, so that the damage to the car will be almost very minuscule, almost nothing. So rather hit the box. The problem with spatial intelligence and 3D modeling in mathematics is you cannot see what's inside the box. You can only see the box. So the box might be completely filled with rock-hard bricks. So if it decides the box with its neural network and image recognition software is the one to hit, you will still completely crash the car. It would have been better to hit the smaller brick. And in that case is where tacit knowledge and human intuition comes in. Because while the car makes the decision, the human needs to make the final judgment call. And that's where AI will keep on failing in the foreseeable future. Data cannot simulate consciousness. And if you think very closely about this, in the world today, we're over 8 billion people. And every second of every minute of every hour, 8 billion people make decisions. In reality, in consciousness. You cannot store 8 billion data points every second of every minute of every person making a decision and then run an LLM model on all those decisions of all those data points to try and detect what will be the next decision. And that is my hymn. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I hope.
Great presentation. Actually, you anticipated a question that I was going to ask for dialogue. And so I'm going to ask it earlier because I was going to ask it a little later, but I think it's actually a good question to ask because we tend to be attracted by shiny objects. You know, we see something new and we dive into it and just jump on it and do whatever. And AI is similar to that. KM, when I was doing it in the 90s, was similar to that. It still is to some extent. So let me ask Rachad and Patrick, your thoughts about what should you not be doing instead of what we do, but what should we be avoiding or what should we be careful about in terms of what we've been talking about today? Because that word caution came up also in some of the earlier conversations. So what are some things to be cautious about, do you think, from an innovation perspective and also from an organizational performance perspective?
Yes, so let's start with innovation and see the relationship between AI, tacit knowledge, and innovation. So first, we need to understand the AI landscape. What are the viewpoints? Today, we have a mixed realities of AI perceptions. So let's summarize it in 4 stakeholders groups, but we can also extend to additional stakeholders groups. If we look at the technology giants, those who are building the AI infrastructures, the compute infrastructure. And I like to call AI as a computational force rather than intelligence. So those giants are building the infrastructure and the foundation model, like Gemini, Grok, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And they stated clearly in Davos 2 days ago that the race for AI dominance has evolved into a race for cheap energy, where intelligence is now a commodity measured in tokens, and the cost associated to generate those tokens will determine which nation will win the AI race. And Microsoft CEO said that clearly. Those who can build data centers with low cost and efficient data centers will win the AI race. And that's the technology perception. The other perception and viewpoint is the investors and shareholders. So today, investors are aggressively maximizing their return on investment by prioritizing productivity and efficiency. So they are looking at AI as efficiency tool to replace labor-intensive workflows. At least this is what their assumption is. Despite early adopters from companies who invested in AI to replace workers, they didn't get the expected ROI. However, investors continue to push companies to invest in AI, assuming that it will lead to the increase of EBITDA and the operating margins by replacing the labor-intensive workflows. And we are seeing some tendency. Companies are rehiring. In fact, people who have fired, assuming AI will replace their work. The third stakeholder group is the end users, the critical mass, the public. They are still questioning and navigating the fundamentals of AI literacy. They are asking how I can write a prompt where AI answers my intention and my purpose for the question. So there is a gap between what I ask and what I get. So that needs some skills and competencies. And also another challenge, employees or the mass are failing to transfer the process knowledge. Process knowledge means the why and the what things or work happens. So when they fail to transfer those process knowledge as instructions to AI, then AI will fail to provide the relevant answer. So here we have another gap between what the corporate strategy is asking for and what the employees' skills in terms of interacting effectively with AI. The fourth stakeholder group is obviously TT4 and how we look at AI, tacit knowledge, and innovation. So today, innovation is no longer an outcome or a result of a process. It's a dynamic equilibrium. So AI alone cannot balance the system. It's a lever. So, and the true fulcrum is the tacit knowledge, the wisdom, the judgment that Professor Wernher, Sylvia, and everyone else mentioned. The way I'd like to define tacit knowledge in simple words is how the enterprise thinks and decides when the playbook no longer applies and when the standard operating procedure fails. So when something written doesn't work, how we react, how we decide. This is tacit knowledge. And to scale innovation, we must embed tacit knowledge into AI capabilities. And AI becomes a multiplier for the grounded, invisible expertise that exists with our organization. And there's a risk. There's a risk if we continue to invest in AI without investing in the tacit knowledge. By analogy, it is equivalent to increase the trading leverage without strengthening the risk control. If I'm doing trade and I use leverage and I increase leverage, if I don't balance it with risk controls, then the results can be catastrophic.
There's a sense of balance, the balance that has to happen here, and you need to be very aware of that balance.
That balance, yes, because AI, it will amplify whatever you give him or give it.
Okay, great.
Companies who understood that reality have seen growth up to 4 times growth in their revenues. And if we look closer from where this revenue is coming, it's coming from their R&D functions, because there is a surge tax for every innovation dollar we pay. There's a 20% tax wasted going into duplicate and repeated works. And scientists or engineers and research and developers struggle also to capture assessments and to transfer knowledge from one R&D project to another. So that's a struggle to capture tacit knowledge in R&D project is paying that surge tax. And the third reward is coming from investors. And we talked about the ESG, the environment, social, and governance performers. Those who have positive ESG performance, the investors are willing to pay 15% higher in terms of company valuation premium as a premium tax. So the tacit knowledge is the security to provide positive performance in terms of ESG. And in a conclusion, Akio Toyoda, the grandson of Toyota company founders, he said sustainability growth requires balance, and troubles results when the speed of growth exceeds the speeds of nurturing a human resource. So human capital is not anymore a soft asset, but it is the financial alpha, the excess of returns, the excess of profit, when over the market, when we invest in a technology rooted in tacit knowledge.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks, Patrick. What's your take from the performance end of things? How would you frame this? Oh, we don't hear you. I think you're on mute. You're on mute.
Okay, great. Since we almost put an equal sign between innovation and AI, so perhaps I also answer this question from this angle. So how I look at AI, I mean, AI is wonderful. I must say that it really, open up a big arena that we can never imagine before. But I also tell my students, I use this same kind of knowledge to share with them. I said, we should treat AI as a co-pilot for sense making, but we should not use it as autopilot for decisions. Okay? Because it's important, because if students or if any of us start to rely on AI so much that we think all the decisions they make is the ultimate one, then we probably fall into the trap.
So the augmentation mindset rather than the replacement mindset.
Exactly. So earlier when I shared on the chat before, I said that AI really do a lot of wonderful things which we can't, because they can help us to surface the kind of patterns or even cases or even options. This is something they really do well. But for us as human, I think we can validate the context, the kind of consequence, the trade-off, even the kind of ethics. Because I don't know whether AI can really, help us to make ethical decisions. So that's why I think we need, when we work with AI, we need to be working hand in hand, not really fully entrust our decision with AI. So let me give you some real life example, which I think they are really the kind of high value AI usage in tacit knowledge. For example, if say we can have the AI system that we can ask the AI that who has the kind of knowledge to solve this kind of problem. So it's something like an expertise discovery. So it's asking the AI to help us to locate someone within the organization who got the knowledge of this kind of project or who tackled this kind of problem before. Or maybe we can ask the AI to show us some kind of incident or project that will work in the past. That will be something wonderful. It will become our reference point, and we can use it to make our decision, but not asking AI to give us our decision. So this is my take. Thank you.
Very good. I love that. I love the the pilot thing. Actually, my son is a pilot, so I
Oh,
particularly
right. Okay.
I love the pilot metaphor. I think it's a great metaphor. It's
Oh,
very
thank
good.
you. Yeah.
Wernher, do you have anything additional to add? To now that we've had this conversation, do you want to add some more color to it?
Yeah, just maybe three things. Number one, Prof. Rachad talked about the end user as part of the equation where the AI needs to live and work. So I just going to raise to people to think about this a little bit. So we've got Elon Musk or whatever company building robots to, I don't know, fold laundry and wash the floors and things like that. So my question is, and this is where reality is going to hit very hard, those companies. Why would you pay, I don't know, in your money, in my money, it will be 2 million rand or let's say $100,000 for a robot to wash the dishes when you can buy a dishwasher for $1,000? It doesn't make sense because the robot needs maintenance. It breaks down. It uses more electricity. And the other thing is, it's actually good for you to stand up and go wash the dishes and put it in the dishwasher and pack it out. Because if you sit there all day and you've got nothing to do, you are going to actually become really lazy and stupid as a human. So that is not the most cleverest thing of using AI in that direction.
You know,
I can
it's funny
understand.
to add to that. There was a recent article in Harper's Magazine where they talked about robotics and the idea of trying to make a human-like robot to wash dishes when you can just throw it in a box and squirt water on it for 30 minutes and you're done. But the complexity that we have to deal with to try and make a robot would be so complex that it doesn't make any sense. So
Thank you, Josh.
they're echoing what you're saying.
You make my point. So the end user, Prof. Rachad, will actually ask the question, $100,000 for a robot that needs maintenance, fixing, breaks down, maybe falls on me, or $1,000 dishwasher, I just pack the dishes and press the button. That's already got AI built onto the board with the sensor.
Yeah.
I think it's quite clear. Second thing is critical thinking is becoming an extremely problem area in the next generation. People don't think. They're becoming more reliant on what the AI tells them. They don't think behind the scenes. That's where we also focus. That's why GO-TKM is becoming extremely important globally. And the last thing I just want to reiterate, remember we started the whole tacit cup idea earlier in the presentations. One presenter talked about the water cooler. You talk around the water cooler, and that's where ideas usually flow. So GO-TKM is starting the tacit cup initiative. So the think tanks, and from time to time, we're going to have these coffee tacit cup discussions as time goes on after Davos. And I would love that from time to time when we are there, please join us to the tacit cup discussions, because interactivity is what's going to make us understand and grow the tacit community and the tacit ecosystem more. And that is my 3 points I would like to add.
Good. Thank you. You know, to kind of build on what you're saying about critical thinking, we tend to think about critical thinking as problem solving, but it's much more than that. And I'm assuming you're thinking more that it's actually questioning the fundamental assumptions that you're using in the first place.
Yes.
Which artificial intelligence really can't do. It starts from certain assumptions and it stays with those assumptions. So,
Josh, I just want to point to critical thinking again. People must also ask themselves, the LLM models that are built in the world today, and there's 10,000 models that's available, doesn't matter where you look. All the knowledge that those engines are trained on comes from humans that wrote a piece of text in a library book or a blog or a research paper.
Right.
So all the training is already human knowledge. AI is not adding intelligence to it. All AI is doing, it's helping you to find associative properties between no knowledge quicker. It's a talking parrot, basically.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very good. Well, let's summarize by doing a sort of a round robin. And what I'd love to do is have each of you, if you're talking to a leader and you're coming from your perspective, from your think tank, what would be 2 or 3 words, sentences of wisdom or ideas of wisdom? Since we're talking about wisdom, what are some wise things that you think you would share with them about our topic here that you think would be helpful to them? So 1 or 2 things, words of kind of closing words of wisdom from innovation, from performance, and from technology. So what would you say, Rachad?
From innovation point of view, I'd like to recall that the 2025 prize in economic sciences was awarded to Joel Mokyr for his work over the years studying economic models and the growth. So what he found out is that useful knowledge, and I will explain later on what is useful knowledge, is a prerequisite for sustained economic growth through technological innovation. So what does that mean practically? Let's say if all companies in the same industries has the same access to the same technology, so there are no competitive edge from technology point of view, how company A will get or will go to sustained economic growth and have this competitive edge by embedding the expertise, the useful knowledge. And useful knowledge here, it's good to define it, and we need to define it because it's not only the know-how, the practical experience, but also the practical experience that is rooted to the science. And this is also what Edward Deming, the godfather of quality management system, has mentioned in the system of profound knowledge. He said, if your data, you cannot interpret your data from a theory point of view, and your theory cannot predict your data, then you will not achieve growth and improvements. So useful knowledge is the combination of the science and the practical knowledge. And when they are fed into the technological advancement, they will achieve economic sustainable growth, which was proven by the economic science laureate. So my message to the executives: don't be afraid to appoint a chief knowledge officer, or don't make some kind of calculation. It is a strategic imperative. And the role of the CKO will be to transform the intellectual capital, intangible assets, including tacit knowledge, judgment, wisdom, into financial alpha. So what's your excess of return on investment over the average market when you embed those intellectual assets in your technology? And that will be the main role of a CKO.
So having responsibility for that fundamental strategy and making sure that that's actually embedded within the organization, and through that role, actually assigning that responsibility so you make sure it's done. Okay, excellent. Thanks so much. Patrick, what are your words of wisdom?
Okay,
from a performance point of view.
Okay, so if I talk to a CEO, I will probably tell him or her that tacit knowledge can improve performance in several different aspects. For example, we can make better decisions because we based on the kind of knowledge from previous project, can be good one, can be bad one, so that we can improve the decision quality in our current project. Second one is we can speed up the execution time because we can make less mistake and less second guessing, and probably the most important thing is less rework. I think in a lot of organizations, we spend a lot of time doing rework, and this is going to waste resources, waste time, and also create frustration. The third one is we can use tacit knowledge to detect risk. Sometimes even those kind of weak signal that appear at the very early stage, I think that's important because so that we can avoid the situation before they happen. And then at the end, the last one, if we are talking about customer as our end user, then I would say that we can use tacit knowledge to create something which is fit for purpose. So that creates something which is useful to the end user. So in order to do that, I will say that there are three important functions. One is how fast we can learn. This is important today in our society because there's so many things happening. So how we can learn faster is something very important. Secondly is how safe we can share what we know. This is like go back to earlier when I mentioned about this concept of psychological safety. So if you're in a very psychologically safe team, people will be willing to share their mistake, their errors, or even their failure. And the last one is by managing tacit knowledge, we can apply it at the point of work. This is very important. We are not just capturing the knowledge for the sake of capturing. We're going to use it at the point of work. And this is my message to the senior executive.
So you're
Thank you.
trying to make explicit the tacit value of tacit knowledge, right?
Yes, exactly.
There's
Well,
a lot of
thank you.
tacit value there that's not recognized, and you're making it tacit, or you're making it explicit. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wernher, what about you? What are some words of wisdom?
From both a business and a technological point of view, I always advise companies, stop and think, what are you doing? Look at your reason for existence. Within your existence and your strategic vision and planning, in there, you can understand where AI will have benefit to you or is going to harm you, and where must it fit into the bigger scheme of things for sustainability and futuristic growth and competitive advantage. Because those are the questions that people around the board, decision boards, and they need to answer those things to investors as well. NVIDIA needs to answer those questions. Microsoft needs to answer those questions. So if they take out the value and they only look at the one side of the equation and not always the business value, what is going to happen in economic principles? Reality is going to bring the value in either as a good thing or as a bad thing. So some companies is going to fly and some are going to die. That's just the nature of the game. But words of wisdom is, remember, knowledge never ages. That's why we've got libraries that's over 1,000 years old. At that point in time, when the book was written by Plato or Newton, doesn't matter. It was new knowledge at that point in time. So it was captured in a book and preserved for future generations. Now, as we see Einstein and we see new things, they say, yes, this law of relativity is found to be correct. We are confirming it with new advantages and new AI discoveries. Or, no, the past 400 years, what we thought was reality is actually incorrect. The mathematical formula needs to be enhanced. We didn't take this parameter or this scenario into consideration when we looked at the world from a specific perspective. And that is strategic visionary enhancement, even from a business perspective. And that's how I always advise companies. When I work with them, when I advise them, if I build a tool for them, that doesn't really matter to me, because you need to understand what must the technology do for you. And will you have a customer? $1 million question. Do you have a customer that's willing to pay you for what you are producing? What if it's a product or a service? It's irrelevant, because that touches on the existential question. Because if you don't have a person that wants to pay for what you are doing, the market is going to annihilate you. It's as simple as that. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Gentlemen, this has been incredible. Great advice, deep insights. And for those listening, this gives you an example of some of the depth of thinking and some of the exciting things that are going on in the think tanks. So if you want to participate further, and whether that's participating in the conversation or tapping into the knowledge, or asking questions that you still have questions about, this is a resource and an opportunity that's invaluable. So feel free to connect with any of these folks. There are a couple of other think tanks that are also out there that are available, so you can see those on the website. You can also send into info@go-tkm.org and say that you'd like information as well. But thanks again for all of your insights, and great conversation.